I want to welcome Agile XRM to the podcast. I've known the people at Agile XRM for the past 12 years. I've seen how their business process management tool can add massive value to complex organizational processes in sectors such as finance and government. If you have complex processes or a need for dialogues on the Power Platform or Dynamics 365, take a look at how this BPM tool can add value. You can find them at agilexrm.com or check out the show notes for more details. Welcome to the MVP Show. My intention is that you listen to the stories of these MVP guests and are inspired to become an MVP and bring value to the world through your skills. If you have not checked it out already, I do a YouTube series called How to Become an MVP. The link is in the show notes. With that, let's get on with the show. Today's guest is all the way from Denver, Colorado in the USA. She's a president and senior consultant at Mount Evans Consulting. She's, and I'll get her to correct me if I'm wrong, but second year as an MVP. She is a co-host of the Microsoft MVP Women in Tech, The Untold Stories, which we're going to unpack that in a moment because I think that's fantastic. You can find her on Twitter at Kristen Hosman or her blog, kristenhosman.com. Welcome to the show, Kristen.
Thank you, Mark, for having me. Happy to be here.
So good to have you on the show. Let's correct anything I got wrong there. First of all, the podcast. Is that correct? MVP, Woman in Tech, The Untold Story.
Yeah, that is correct.
Awesome, because I was just on with Mary Thompson and doing another podcast recording. And is she a co-host with you? Is that right?
Yeah, Mary Thompson and Shannon Mullins. They're both co-hosts with me.
Awesome. Now, this is just purely coincidental that she mentioned The Untold Story, and then I'm coming and I'm getting ready for this, and I'm like, whoa, hang on. You are one of the people running that show as well, so that's fantastic. Now, did I get your name and everything, your website and your Twitter handle all correct?
Yes, you did.
Awesome. Okay, good to go. People can find you. We'll make sure to put that as details in the show note. So before we get started, I always like to get to know who you are, where you're from, and that type of thing. So kind of like tell us a bit about Colorado. I've not been there yet. Denver, I've not been there yet. Tell us a bit about family. What's your favorite food and what do you do for fun?
All right. Well, so Denver, Colorado is actually known as the Mile High City. So the elevation is 5,279 feet. So if you've never been to Denver and you come into Denver and you're not used to being at a little bit of a higher elevation, then you're probably, going to get headaches or something like that. So I always tell people coming to Denver to make sure to prep at least a week beforehand by drinking just a lot more water, right? I actually live about 45 minutes southwest of Denver in a small community called Pine Junction, and we're actually at 8,400 feet in elevation. So quite a bit of difference between Denver and where I'm at. Another fact about Colorado is that we have 58 mountain peaks exceeding 14,000 feet.
Wow, that's amazing. I can see why you get so much snow.
Yeah, it was actually 60 degrees at my house yesterday, and then today it was snowing. So people like to joke that Colorado has very bipolar weather. So that's always fun. But I didn't always live in Colorado. I actually moved here about 5.5 years ago, and I was born and raised in Minnesota. So I'm used to the bitter cold and longer winters. So moved here about 5.5 years ago with my family. I have two little boys, 9 and 11. And, some of the things we like to do here since moving here is snowboarding, dirt biking, jeeping, people want to go hike, a 14er and I just want to get in my Jeep and drive up. Right. Yeah, so those are just kind of the fun things that we like to do. Camping, very outdoorsy area we live in. So
Yeah, I love it. My experience, of course, with Colorado is by David and Julie Yak, because I've done a lot of work with them. Of course, I've been MVPs for a very long time, and so that's kind of my total exposure. And the other fun fact I like about Colorado, which I found out when I went to do a bungee jump, is that Colorado has the highest bungee jump platform in the world.
oh, I'm gonna have to look that up.
Have you done bungee jumping?
I haven't bungee jumped, but in Las Vegas, the stratosphere, you can jump off of the stratosphere, and I have done that. I'm all about like going to the extreme, thrill seeker, So I'm gonna look it up because I haven't heard that one yet.
I've done the highest bungee jump in New Zealand, and that was phenomenal. But when I was looking like who has the highest in the world, Colorado comes up as the location. And I don't know that it's open all year round. It's only open for a certain period of time, but it's the highest in the world. So that's a lot of time free falling before the rubber band pulls you backwards. That'd be pretty phenomenal to do.
Yeah, that would be pretty crazy.
Anyhow, I'm very keen to know about your podcast and really get the listeners to go take a listen and subscribe to it. Tell us about what Microsoft MVP Woman in Tech, The Untold Story is all about. What's the angle? I love this title, The Untold Story, so keen to hear about it.
Yeah, so the podcast was born actually by Shannon Mullen. So neither Mary or I can take credit for that. But Shannon had approached us about a year and a half ago with the idea of actually, having this monthly meetup where us three would get together and we would invite another woman within the community, usually an MVP, to come and just join the show. And what we really talk about is just how to empower women to get into tech. So we've had a couple meetups where we've actually talked about starting blogs, starting social media. How do you get yourself out there? Where do you go to speak and different things like that. And we've also had some of the harder conversations as well about, things in our career that has happened to us as women. But we try and keep it very light. We are not trying to bash any one gender in particular. We've had a lot of males actually join our meetup, and what we found talking with them afterwards is that they found it was an eye opener for them, right? Like one of our first ones, Mary had talked about a situation where she worked for a partner that kind of made her feel uncomfortable when she was going on client visits. And it was a real eye opener, that conversation, just to see how, women are treated out and about at conferences, networking events and different things like that. So, and we've also empowered a lot of women to like join tech. More recently, we've had teachers who have, we don't know them. They found us somewhere along the way, and they've joined our meetup, and they felt empowered to get into the tech industry. So I think that's really the cool thing about it, is that, we're just empowering women, people who have never really been in tech as well, to take a look and see what it has to offer.
This is so cool. And we need more of it. I've been to a range of conferences where there have been women in tech sessions, and I've attended those. And you're so right. There's some discussions that some discussions that need to be had that a lot of people are unaware of, and there's a need for education. And I think, very compelling that people look to people that look like them, or in that position. So the more that women see women in tech, and males as well, can assist and create the right environments, and the right safe, level of trust and safety. Because you mentioned about conferences, and I know there have been some, feedback from conferences I've been to in the past where women have talked about being approached inappropriately and things like this in a Microsoft Tech conference. And that kind of thing needs to be brought more into the light, right? And talked about and prevented from happening.
Right. Yeah, exactly. I was just at Directions North America last week, and I was on the panel for the Women in Dynamics luncheon, and very lighthearted, or light conversation, and taking audience questions, and just really talking about my journey coming into technology, which happened. Gosh, it's been like 13 years ago already. I started as an accountant, and then, kind of moved my way up. But throughout my career, I've always been mentored by men. And, if I look back at my career, I don't know that I would be exactly where I am today if it wasn't for specific men along the way. And I told this story during this luncheon. And right afterwards, I had this gal come up to me, and she was crying. And everyone had kind of left the room, and it was just her and I in there. And she told me that I told her story. Like, it was nice for her to come and actually be in a room with other women and men, and feel empowered. And I think that's what we need right now. We're not trying to bash one gender, like I said before, but we're just trying to get everybody to feel empowered, and that this is where they belong if they want to be here.
I love it. I love it. So tell us a bit about the show format. How do you run it? What's the type of frequency, and where can people find it?
Yeah. So we try and run one once a month, and it's just through a Meetup. So you can go on Meetup, and I can get you that link to include as well. And we have a couple hundred people that are on the Meetup, and it's very low key. We usually, like I said earlier, have a guest, and we always kind of come up with some sort of a topic beforehand. Cameras are optional. People are just so active in the chat. We're going back and forth answering questions, and it's very just low key, usually an hour. We record it, so if you miss it, you can catch it on YouTube later on. So you can go out there and find all those out there that we've done in the past. But yeah, just a good time.
Awesome.
Time.
So we'll make sure we include that in the show notes.
Right. And if there's someone, Mark, listening, to this podcast right now, and you're interested in, becoming an MVP, or even interested in co-hosting with us, you have something that you want to talk about, feel free to reach out to one of us, because we definitely would love to have anyone who wants to talk about something, on there.
I like it. Tell us about your journey to becoming an MVP.
Yeah, my journey started about two years ago. I got a phone call from Steve Indo. He's a Microsoft MVP out of here. He's based out of California. And he had given me a call and basically said, "Hey, what do you think about this? Do you want to be nominated?" And at the time, I was just shocked that he would even think of that. I had been talking with Belinda Allen, months previously about working my way to kind of get to this point, and she had some good advice for me at that time, and I was working towards that. And never did I think, that someone would approach me, kind of thing. So he approached me, and it was summer of 2020, and I took about 2 weeks to get back to him, because I was just kind of like so shocked, and just trying to process it all, and talking with everybody about, was it the right time? Was I doing what I needed to be doing? I was speaking at conferences at that point. I was blogging. I was active with user groups. So I was doing all the right things, to get that nomination. I just didn't feel like I was doing it enough. So I gave him the green light, and September 1st, 2020 is when I got that email. And, after you get nominated, you're kind of on these pins and needles, right? Because every month you're like checking your email, first thing in the morning. And I took my boys to school that day, and I don't have any reception. Like once I leave my house and take them the opposite way, I don't get reception. So I took them to school, and it wasn't until like 9:05, I got home in the morning, and I checked my email, and I had the email. But kind of going back to Steve Indo, talking with him at that time, he had went to the MVP Summit, and he didn't see very many females there at that time. And he's been very open about, wanting to get more female MVPs. So he's on a mission. Mary Shannon and I are on a mission. I specialize in Business Central. There's about 30 BC MVPs worldwide and only 5 females. And I think all the men, they're all developers. I'm not sure if a lot of them are functional. But, we're on a mission, and over the next few years, especially with the BC, I think we're going to see a lot more women MVPs coming into the space.
I love it. I love it. I love it. This is so cool. Any advice, just as we wrap up, any advice you'd give to folks that either they don't know how to become an MVP or they want to become an MVP, that you kind of give to people?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is putting yourself out there, right? So starting a blog, and you can start a blog on anything. I like to tell people, take issues that you've seen in Business Central. Like it could be like a support case that a client sends you, turn it into a blog. Some of the highest hit blogs I have are some things that I would think, everybody would know how to do, but they're hitting my blog. And I'm not a great blog writer, so you don't have to be the best writer. You just have to put it out there. The other thing I would say is speaking at conferences or doing interviews like this. If you're nervous about speaking at a conference, there are tons of speakers out there, MVPs, non-MVPs, that are willing to co-present with you. There's a lot of conferences out there that you can reach out to and just say, hey, I have an idea, but I'm not really, wanting to do it by myself, and they can find you a co-speaker. So those are the 2 things that I would say, is just get yourself out there, get comfortable being out there, and ask for help. That's the other thing. So many people are out there, and they're just willing to help you in this community.
Hey, thanks for listening. I'm your host, Business Application MVP Mark Smith, otherwise known as the NZ365 Guy. If you like the show and want to be a supporter, check out buymeacoffee.com/NZ365 Guy. Thanks again, and see you next time.